Today I'm going to show you how to draw using perspective. Now, perspective is used to create an illusion of space and depth on paper. And there are many different types of perspective, but for this demonstration we're just going to talk about one-point perspective. I'm going to show you how to draw basic boxes, boxes going back in space, stackable boxes, and what I call complex cutouts. So what you're going to need in front of you is either your sketchbook open to a new sheet of paper, or just a blank separate sheet of paper will work fine too. You're going to need a pencil for this, and it helps to have an eraser just in case, and then you're also going to need a ruler. Now, when you're drawing in one-point perspective, the first thing that you're going to do, no matter what you decide to draw, is you're going to make a horizon line. And just to show you kind of what we're working towards, here's an example that was done before. So you can see we've got boxes going back in space, right through here, and here's just a regular box. And then I'm going to, of course, show you the other types of boxes that I mentioned already as well. So the horizon line, what you're going to do is roughly in the center of your page, you're going to line up your ruler across your page. Now you want to do your best to make sure your ruler is straight. Now I know sometimes you struggle with that. That's okay. Just keep in mind, drawing a straight line is really mostly about getting your ruler right before you start drawing, and then really holding it down, taking your pencil, and then drawing that line across. Okay, so this is your horizon line. Now I'm going to just write this down here. If you want to label yours, you certainly may do so, but you don't need to. My horizon line here. So what is a horizon line? A horizon line is where the sky meets the ground. So imagine that this area is your sky and this area is your ground, and the horizon line is where the two meet. Or if you imagine if you're on a beach looking out at the water and the sky meet, and that's the horizon line, okay? So what you're going to do after this is we're going to create a vanishing point. Now we're doing one-point perspective, so we only need one vanishing point. You can put the vanishing point anywhere you want to on this horizon line. I'm going to put mine about in the center. Again, I'm not going to measure it exactly, I'm just going to kind of eye it. If you would like to label your vanishing point, you certainly can for the sake of this demonstration. I'm just going to label mine VP for vanishing point, but you don't need to do that. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to draw a three-dimensional box using one-point perspective. So you can pick and choose if you want to work above the horizon line or below the horizon line. For this first one, I'm going to go ahead and work above to the left. So what you're going to do is take your ruler, and keep in mind, always use a ruler when you're drawing in perspective. You might think you can freehand it, but always use a ruler. You want to make sure you have nice straight lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw what's called the face of the object. And that is simply either a rectangle or a square, whatever you want to draw. I'm going to draw a rectangle here. And I'm not going to measure it so it's an exact length or anything. I'm just going to use my ruler and draw it that way. So I can just erase this little part here, and now I have a rectangle. Again, this is called the face of my object. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take these 3 points and I'm going to bring them back to the vanishing point. I'm not going to bring this point back because I'm not going to see that. So I'm going to start in this corner, line my ruler up to my vanishing point and the edge of the square, and I'm going to lightly, keep in mind, draw very lightly because you will have to do some erasing later, draw a line back to my vanishing point. And then I'm going to repeat that process with my left edge here, and then this one as well. I'm going to line that up to my vanishing point, and I'm going to bring that back. Okay, so at this point you've got the face of your object, which is going to become a box, and then I've got 3 lines coming back to my vanishing point. Now your next step is you're going to decide where you want to trim your box. Now it depends how big of a box you want, and really you can just kind of eye it. But the key point here is we're going to be working with parallel lines. So I'm going to first trim along this bottom edge, which is going to come from this line to this line, but it needs to be parallel to this line. So an easy way to do that is take your ruler, line it up to the bottom line there, and then just kind of drag it down as far as you want to go. So I'm going to come about here, and I'm going to draw my line. Okay? And now what I need to do is I need to draw a parallel line from this line up from here. So again, if you want to, you can line your ruler up here, kind of drag it back, make sure it's straight up and down, and then draw your line. And then from here, you're just going to erase these lines going back to the vanishing point. So there you have it. You have a basic box. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is do a stackable box. So from here, if we want to, I'm gonna go ahead and add a stacked box with this one. That way we don't have to draw a second one and we can just work from what we have. So what you're gonna do is that same process. You're gonna draw the face of your box. Again, I'm gonna make mine a rectangle. I'm going to kind of overlap it a little bit here and see what this does for us. Okay, let me get rid of this. All right, again, I'm going to be bringing back this edge, and this edge to my vanishing point. Okay. Now, because I've got two boxes that are going to be overlapping, I'm going to start drawing that vertical line, skip over it, and then continue it on this side. And then this one is going to actually run pretty close to my other line, but we'll just go ahead and draw it in anyway because there's a little bit of space there. And then from this upper corner, I'm going to bring that down as well. So now you can decide where you want to trim it. Because this box is going to be stacked on this box with a little bit of overlap, I'm going to make this a much longer box. So I'm going to bring down the line where I want to trim right here. And again, it needs to be parallel from this line, but it's also parallel from these lines as well. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that. And then again, I need to trim up from here, but it needs to be parallel to all of these lines as well. And then once you have that, you can go ahead and erase. Okay? So now I have two boxes stacked on top of each other. Now, just to kind of show you a different look on perspective, if I was to spin this around, this would become my sky area, this would become my ground area. You can see the two boxes stacked on top of each other this way as well. So you can see you can work below the horizon line or above the horizon line. It both will work. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to draw boxes going back in space. And just to show you my example, what we're going to do is we're going to work with 3 boxes going back to the vanishing point. So it starts with a larger box and then they get smaller as they go back. So this time I'm going to work below my vanishing point, below my horizon line, working up to my same vanishing point. So again, to start, we're going to draw the face of our box. I'm going to bring mine down to the lower right-hand corner. Again, if it's a square or rectangle, either will work. Just use your ruler to make sure that you have nice straight lines. Okay. Right, so there I've got my rectangle, and I'm going to bring these 3 lines back to my vanishing point. And again, make sure you're using your ruler so everything has a straight line and can be lined up properly. Okay, and I've got my top one here. All right, so now I've got my lines going back in space, and I'm going to show you how to make this single box here look like several boxes going back in space. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim my box. So you should be familiar with this process. Now we've done it twice, same thing. I've got my parallel lines, and then I'm going to take this line and make sure it's going straight down so it's parallel to this one here. right? Now, instead of erasing these lines going back, instead, I'm actually going to leave a little space and I'm going to draw another line through here and another line going down. Okay, so now I've got 2 lines going across the top, 2 lines on the side. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, so watch carefully. This little line in between these 2 longer lines, I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase that line there. Then I'm going to also erase this line in between and then this line down here. So I've erased 3 lines, one from here, one from here, and one from here. Now what I need to do is from this corner, I'm going to take my ruler, line it up horizontally, and draw a straight line. Then I'm going to do the same thing up here, except I'm going to draw a vertical line going down. Now what you can see is I have the face of my next box. So now I'm going to repeat that process one more time. So I'm going to draw my horizontal line that's parallel here. I'm going to draw my vertical line coming down from here. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that again. So, and I'm just eyeing this. If you want to measure so it's a certain distance, feel free to do so. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to eye it. Right, so now I've got my 2 lines here. So I'm going to repeat that process where I'm going to erase this line, and this line. And then we'll be able to create the face of our next box. Okay, so after I erase those, again, I'm going to bring my ruler down here and I'm going to draw a horizontal line. And then I'm going to bring my ruler down from here and draw a vertical line. So now I've got 2 boxes and I'm going to start my last one. So this will be my last one. If you want to keep going back, you certainly can, but at least have 3. We'll stop at 3. Alright, so this time all I need to do then is erase the rest of these lines. So you can see it's pretty simple. It's not too difficult. The biggest thing is figuring out where to erase those lines and redraw the new lines. So now you've got 3 boxes going back in space. So the last thing I'm